Welcome to the Activity Call Live. Now let's hear it for our special guest host, Alex Abuyuan.
I'm very excited to share with you folks that exemplify the idea of mental toughness and the idea of overcoming to become. They've gone through stuff. Maybe you guys can relate to them. I know I can in so many ways, and that's why I chose them. So I want to bring up my buddy Pablo Troncoso. I brought Pablo in last year, and in about 7 months, 8 months, he earned the trip to Cabo, and he's has his third child, right, Pablo? And
yeah, that's right, man. 6 weeks old to
6 weeks. Wow, Sophia, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on that. So, dude, share with us. I know you've, your background and kind of what you went through in overcoming some. We hear this all the time, especially during that time in 2008 when people lost everything. And I remember you and I chatting about that just briefly. So, I'd look for you to kind of share your story about overcoming adversity and what got you through it.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you asking, Alex, and inviting me on. It's an honor, again, to be on this call with you and, to serve at any capacity that I can to the Alliance Nation. And I want to be respectful of this topic because there might be some of you on this call that are going through it right now, right? Like what we're going to talk about is adversity that we've gone through. And some of you might be in the middle of it right now. And whatever it is, people might see the outside of you, Alex, right? Some people just see the outside of you.
Yeah.
But they have no idea what's going on the inside of you, right? And if you're in the middle of it, it is I don't work at a circus, but man, you got to know how to balance that act. And so that's kind of what I want to share about. I had a little bit of adversity throughout my life, but who's it? The great physician Luke once said, "For nothing will be impossible with God." Right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, like you mentioned, was '08. Right. And we talk about '08 with our clients like it was no big deal, right? Like, oh, you remember '08? And they're like, oh yeah, the market crash, the housing crash. It was a big deal. It was a very big deal. At the time, I was running a small mortgage branch, had about 25 employees, and I just remember hearing, we had the news on, and I remember hearing it was September 14th, 2008, that Lehman Brothers was filing for bankruptcy, and that was really the start of the beginning. The start of the beginning of the end of what I thought was the end for me, right? And I'll never forget it. I was, most of my homes within about a year, most of my homes were up for short sale or foreclosure, right? And listen, I'm not boasting that I had homes, right? I worked at the mortgage store, so I had a lot of mortgages, right? Just like if you worked at a jeans store, you probably have a lot of jeans. If you work at the insurance store, you probably have a lot of insurance policies. I happened to work at the mortgage store. All of my homes were pretty much up for either short sale or foreclosure, with no one that renewed their leases. Man, I was going through it. My revenue had dropped to about 10% of what it was for the last 6 years running.
Wow.
And oh, by the way, for those that have clients that have ever talked about this, when we talk about like green line, red line, just a side note, you talk about adversity. So I had built up a substantial IRA, right? I even had a VUL, right? Because that's what my advisor told me I should have, and I never once got a call from him, right? About, hey, here's how we should probably help you. So just an example, I thought I was okay because I was like, you know what, Eve, I'll weather this storm because I've got, multiple six figures in this account. Well, guess what? There's this little law, at least in Maryland, that if you're going through foreclosure, and you're doing a bankruptcy protection, you cannot leave the IRAs out of the picture. You actually have to liquidate that money to pay for a home that you know you're about to lose. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Can you believe that? And that's exactly what happened. And because I had multiple homes, I had to liquidate all that money, and they all went away. And guess what? They were all backed by mortgages that were basically helped out by big government down the road, right? They bailed out all these banks. They didn't bail me out. They bailed out the banks. So anyway, just what a nightmare, right? And by the and the straw, I guess, the straw that broke the camel's back, right? You always kind of like try to tie it to, like, in the movie, there's a one scene. And for me, I felt like that scene came really quickly. And the straw that broke the camel back was I went to ATM. I went to the ATM machine because I was down to like my last $5,000. Okay. Excuse me. I went down to my last $5,000 and I went to go get enough money just to buy some groceries, have some expenses. This is back in the day before you paid everything with your phone, right? So I had some cash in my hand, and I just wanted $500. And I'm not going to name the name of the bank, but the name of the bank that I had was also the name of the mortgage bank that I had. And so when I went to withdraw that money, it said insufficient funds. So I thought I didn't have $500. I didn't have anything anymore. Okay. By the grace of God, about a couple weeks later, I received a call from a friend of mine. And he said, Pablo, I know you're going through some things right now. He said, listen, I'm moving down to Puerto Rico to open up a new hotel. I know you probably need some time to get away from stuff. Whatever's going on through your mind, you're more than welcome to come and stay with me. I wasn't walking with the Lord back then, but looking back, I know that was him calling me. Okay. But anyway, that was kind of, like I said, the start of the beginning, it did get to a point where I did eventually get into the insurance business. But Alex, I'll pause right there. I don't know if you had any questions or how I got out of that. Yeah.
What makes someone, when you lose everything and you're standing at the ATM, here you are before all this, before the crash, you're thinking like you're king of the world. You got multiple homes, you got money, you got a big fat IRA account, life's good. And so you go from that feeling like this tremendous self-image of I'm the man to you can't even pull out money for groceries out of your ATM. Well, tell me about the self-image hit that you took there.
Oh, man. I mean, there's times where, like you said, right, we're standing on top of the mountain, but at this point, I felt like I had, fallen all the way to the bottom and crashed out and no one was around. Because that one phone call that I got was the only phone call that I got. There was no one around, right? All the friends were gone. All the, helpful neighbors, all that was gone, right? And so I didn't have a belief in anything bigger than me, right? Because I basically grew up with a bad relationship with money. I mean, come on, my stepfather was enlisted in the Navy, and making $25,000 for a family of 5. So we always said, thank God for base housing. And so the minute I got money, right, I thought I was it. And so, for me, the self-image was, I mean, I was in the deepest of depressions. There was days where, I prayed I didn't wake up, like there was no need for me to wake up and be a burden to somebody else. And by the grace of God, he didn't do that. Right. He showed me a way out.
So what was your way out? Like what, a friend called, how did you kind of build yourself back up to where you are today?
I had 3 things that I kind of, always follow by with regards to taking action. One of them I didn't find out till later, and it's actually my first one, although, chronologically it was probably number 3, and that was to have faith. You got to have faith in something bigger than you, right? So whatever you believe in, have faith. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It's so funny. My children now, who know God like way before, I ever even knew he existed, they're like reciting this now. And they say, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths, or he will direct your ways. Right. And for me, I thought I was the only person that could direct my way, not my mom, right? Because we didn't have money growing up. Not my stepfather, they divorced. So why would he know what to do? I thought it was me. But the second thing was surrounding myself with good people, Alex, and eliminate them otherwise, right? And you can decide what your own, qualifications are for good people. But I would have never gotten that phone call from that one friend if I didn't have a true relationship with him over the years. And again, everyone else disappeared. So, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. But the third thing was, you got to take action. You got to start you got to move. You got to go to events. You got to, it's funny. I say, I've heard this being said before, that God might, walk with you and help guide you out of the valley of the shadow of death, but he will not take your butt off the couch, right? That's something that you got to do. And I was on the couch. I was in the bed. I was in the couch. Like, I did not want to move. And it was literally having to get myself out and having a desire to move. And when I did make that move, for me, it was literally getting up and, moving to Puerto Rico, on my last, dollars that I was able to scrape together, for a flight. If I did not do that, there was no opportunity for a land of like the next step to happen, right? Like, if I stayed where I was at, it would have been it. Like, who knows what I'd be doing today, right? And so that would be kind of the 3 things. You got to move, right? You got to surround yourself with good people, and you got to have faith.
Absolutely, dude. As I mentioned on Wednesday, failure is not failure. Failure is an opportunity to learn. And I think going through that experience, you got to learn what it takes, right, to overcome adversity. And that just put a steel in your backbone to continue on. So you know what it feels like. Now you know what to do to get around it and get over. That's why I'm so confident that you're tearing it up. And, this year, 2025 is going to be a great one for you, dude. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for sharing your story.
Appreciate you, man. And thanks for being a part of each one of those steps I talked about. You represent them well. And it's an honor to work with you, brother.
I appreciate that, man. Awesome.